Hello, everyone. Wow, the last group was way more excited. Let's get a better response. Hello, everyone. Okay, you guys win. All right. How are you doing today? Glad to hear it. My name is Elijah. I'm here today to talk to you guys about 3D printing technology. It is a relatively new technology that has grown and evolved very quickly. And it is in a bunch of different jobs, and they can do a lot of special things. So today I'm here to talk to you guys about how they work, how they run, how you guys can run them, the special things they can do, answer any questions you guys have, and talk to you a little bit about my business that I run. You guys see this okay? Okay, good. We had the lights off last one, but I want to keep them on so you guys can see me. All right, so a little introduction to me. My name is Elijah. I love to travel. That first picture on the left is me in Switzerland before I went paragliding. And we got my pit bull, Bucky, up there. He loves to sit and hang out in my workshop waiting for me to be done. Right below that is a picture of me, actually right next door at that church nearby. I did a much smaller little assembly for their Girl Scout troop. And then to the right of that, you can see a picture of me at my dojo. I actually see a few of my old students here. Hello. Hi, Andrews. So I used to be a karate teacher. I had my own dojo. I was a karate teacher, and I did karate for about 10 years. I taught for about 8, and about 2 of those years, I had my own dojo, and it was actually in Bethlehem, about 5 minutes away, right down the street. That's a picture of me with my adult students. I loved teaching there, but this is kind of what I want to do with my life, so I'm very excited that I get to teach this now instead of just karate. Up top, you can see a picture of me at the movies. I went to see the movie Iron Lung recently. It was a horrible movie. I'll see a couple thumbs up, nice. They had a popcorn bucket that you could 3D print, and I 3D printed it, and I got free popcorn when I went, so that was kind of cool. Little introduction of my business. My business is called Paragon 3D Printing LLC. And LLC is called, it's a limited liability company, okay? So to explain that in simple terms, my business is separate from me, okay? So I don't pay myself, all right? My business gets all the profits, but the cool thing is I don't pay for anything. So I don't pay for these machines, I don't pay for the plastic, the upgrades, so I just get a bunch of cool stuff for free. One day I will pay myself, but for now, I'm taking all that profit and reinvesting it in my business so I can grow. I started with that little printer down there, the one with the blue lines. That is called the CR10 from Creality, same brand that made this one that I'm going to show you today. Much more simple. It is very reliable. It was my first machine. I still use it sometimes today, but it was my first machine, and it funded and I sold things like this in my high school. This is just like a fidget cube, and I sold very simple stuff like that. And I took that profit, and I got to buy all those machines that you see in my workshop there. I have about 10 to 15 machines that I use for various reasons, and I have about 20 machines for sale because I also sell and repair 3D printers. I have my own website called Paragon3dprinting.com. I sell my own files, I design my own prints. I actually designed this Stein mug that holds soda cans. So if you see me drinking from that. And also I made this little simple phone stand. I use it all the time for the videos I make. I post videos every day on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and that helps drive my website sales. I also do custom orders. So I do custom orders for just like cosplay stuff, like the masks and stuff that you see here. I've also done custom orders for factories, so like functional prints, like factory parts, car parts. And you can see all my printers there. The one on the right bottom is my Prusa XL. That is my newest machine, and it is one of the first of its kind for multi-tool printing. So these printers have one nozzle, and I'll explain how it works a little bit later on, but this nozzle heats up and it pushes out the plastic, okay? If I wanted to print in 2 colors, kind of like this coaster, I would have to print out, in other machines, I would have to print out with white, move to the side, poop out some gray. I won't say ew. Ew. I know. And then go back, print out some black, go over, print out gray, print white, print gray. Waste a lot of plastic, and it wears down that nozzle a lot. And I'm sure you can imagine it also makes the colors kind of mix, all right? This machine has 5 of these. And it has a tool that goes to grab it. It prints out in that color, it puts it away, and then it grabs the next one. That saves a lot of plastic, a lot of time, and it makes the quality amazing. And also it allows for multi-material printing, which I'll talk about a little bit. Speaking of this Stein mug, I'm thirsty. All right. So what is 3D printing? 3D printing is the process of taking a digital file and making it a physical object, all right? So in the left top corner, can you guys see that picture of that little boat? Yeah. All right, so that is a digital model of that boat, and that boat is actually, right here, and we're actually gonna print out that boat today on this machine. You can see it in the digital file. I had to take that, put in all the settings and everything that I wanted to do, and then I send it to the machine. You can see a picture of it printing out, and then on the right you can see a picture of, that was actually my first ever multicolor print. This little boat right here, printed in one piece. I didn't have to paint it or anything. It's a nice black with a shiny gold. 3D printing is also very special because it is a special form of additive manufacturing. Before 3D printing, if you wanted to make your own custom, like if you had an idea for a custom part that you wanted to make or a plastic part, you would have to go to a factory, design a mold, and have a lot of money and send them this, and then you would get one of the same thing. You wouldn't be able to make changes, you wouldn't be able to like do any of that. With 3D printing, I can design something, print one out. And then if I don't like it, I can edit it and print another one out. A quick example, later on I'll show you guys the keychains I made. I printed out a couple of them, and I didn't really like it. I edited the design, printed out a new one, and when I liked it, I started printing out a bunch. Now, before 3D printing, I would have to spend a lot of money to get that part what I wanted it to be, all right? So like I said, 3D printing is an additive manufacturing. There's additive and subtractive manufacturing. It sounds a little complicated, but it's pretty simple. Additive is any time a machine adds material, like plastic or whatever it may be. Subtractive is when it cuts away. So like a CNC machine or a laser cutter, they cut away at wood, they cut away at metal, they cut away at acrylic. I'm mainly going to be talking about additive engineering, which is adding the plastic. This is using a spool. So it uses this spool of plastic and melts it down, and it prints it out into whatever I want, all right? Basic example of that is Legos. Who likes Legos? Okay, cool. I'm so glad. I still love Legos. I play with them. Hands down. So Legos are a great example. You add Legos, you keep adding them until you have what you want. And making paper snowflakes is a great example of very simple subtractive engineering. You take a piece of paper, you cut it up, you get rid of that paper, and now you have a cool thing. All right? You'll see a couple different types of printers there. I'm going to go over the different types of machines. So we have FDM printing, that stands for fused deposition modeling. Basically, that's any time a material is heated up and comes out of a nozzle, it moves in lines in a very specific way to make what you want, okay? Usually plastic, but sometimes metal or concrete or whatever the machine uses. SLA is stereolithography. It uses a vat of resin. It's a liquid, toxic liquid, so I have to use gloves, ventilator, glasses, and I have to be very safe. It has a screen underneath of it. The build plate moves down, dips into the vat, it flashes with UV light and cures one layer, it moves up, and then it dips back down. And it just keeps doing that over and over and over again. The quality is actually the quality of the screen, which is kind of weird. So the quality of my resin printer is actually 4K, like a TV, so that's kind of odd, huh? But those are mainly used to print out very high quality prints, or very tiny prints. I do have one with me, this Hulk Ragnarok bust. It's like a clear green. When you guys come up later, you can take a closer look at all this stuff. But you can see very high detail in this, more than FDM would be able to do, all right? But this takes a lot of work, and I'll show you later a little bit more of all the post work on that. FDM printing is mainly used for all of the stuff that you see here. It can be used for prototyping, for like basic toys and stuff that don't need to be super strong, all right? But also, once you get better, you can use different and better plastics to make like actually functional parts. And then we have SLS, selective laser sintering. I don't do this. This is what like NASA and car manufacturers use some. I believe some medical fields use it as well, but it uses powder to like connect different parts. Evolution of 3D printing. So, 3D printing has come a very long way, all right, in a very short amount of time. In the left top corner, you can see there's a picture of that guy up there. He actually made the first ever 3D printer, I believe it was in the late 80s. And it was an SLS printer, one of the ones that has that vat and it dips into the liquid. And he printed out a bust of himself. So right next to the printer, you can see himself. He 3D scanned himself, and he printed himself out. And right under that, you can see a RepRap printer. That was one of the first FDM printers, like mine, okay? You guys see all those little white parts? Those are 3D printing, which is crazy. So this whole project was made to make a machine that can make itself, all right? So that printer can print out its own parts, and not only that, but it can print upgrades for itself. So it prints out an upgrade for itself, you put it on, now your printer is better, and it can print better parts for you to upgrade your printer, so it can upgrade itself. Everyone go, whoa. Whoa. And that's one of the biggest reasons 3D printing has grown so much, because it's open source. All of these companies, watch out. All of these companies are open source, so they share all the code and all the information they use to the public. So you could build your own 3D printer from scratch and use all that open source code. Right above that, you see the printer with the red lid. That is my resin SLS printer. The red lid keeps the UV out, so it doesn't like hurt your eyes, and it also keeps the toxins in, so it makes it safer. Mine's kind of basic. I do need a newer one that can do a bit better, but I don't really do resin printing much. I only really do it when I get custom orders for very, very tiny parts, like this big, or very high detail prints, all right? To the right of that, you can see that one with the yellow lid. That is a wash and cure station. So after you're done doing resin printing, this is why I don't do it much, it's messy and it takes a lot of time. After this is done, it comes out wet, full of that resin. So I have to put it in the wash and cure station to clean it off, and then I put it in there and it spins around and it shines it with that UV light to cure and harden the rest of that resin and make sure it's safe. If you don't do that enough and I drop this, the liquid could come out and then it's toxic. So you gotta make sure you do it well enough. If you guys have any questions, I will save time for it, but we got a lot to go through, so I'll save it for the end, okay? And then right below that, you see the MakerBot. That's actually mostly wood. It was one of the first 3D printing kits. So up until recently, like I want to say about like 2015 or like 2020-ish, you couldn't get printers like this. This came in like mostly assembled. I only put a couple pieces together. Back then you had to build it from scratch. It came in a box, you had to build it. Now you can buy printers that are like out of the box, ready to go. That was great for education, very popular printer. To the right of that is my CR10. That was my original printer. My parents bought it for me, I think in like 2019 for Christmas. And I used it for a couple of years, and then I started getting into my business. I still use that today. It's very reliable. It's slow, but reliable, and it does pretty decent quality prints. To the right of that is my XL, that one I was talking about, that grabs the tools and prints out. It has a huge build plate, and these build plates also heat up to help the plastic stick. They have a huge heat pad underneath. That printer has 16 little heat pads underneath, so it's way more efficient, and it only uses the part of the build plate that is needed. So it saves a lot of plastic, a lot of electricity. So, how to start a 3D print. I'm going to start a 3D print on the K1 here. This is my Creality K1. As this is getting ready, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about those two. Now, the cool thing about 3D printing is that it is pretty automated. If you set it up right, you can basically turn it on and press play. And that's one of my favorite things about it. The stuff I sell on my website, when someone buys it, I did a lot of hard work earlier, like a couple years ago. So now, I just go downstairs, press print, and then the next morning I ship it out. It's really easy now. This is still booting up, so I'll turn these ones on. When you start a print and you have it set up, you can actually send it by Wi-Fi, so my laptop can just send it right over, or you can put it on a USB or something like that. This one has a nice USB that I just plug in. Older machines had to plug directly into your computer, and I would have to keep my computer on, and it would be really annoying. So this machine over here, I believe, does it that way. And this machine, you'll notice, is a much older one. It's a lot smaller, very basic. It does not print that well. I'm not going to print on this one today. It is 2 separate pieces. So this is the power supply. Once I plug it in, it's actually turned on, so this is on. Now I'll turn the machine on. The build plate is very small, and it has these little bed knobs so that you can level this. Because the bed isn't level, do you guys think it'll stick? No, it won't. And then my print will fit. So it has these little knobs to level it. It has a very small build plate, so it can maybe print something like this, but those masks and stuff, no way. And this is very basic. It can only print in PLA, nothing like the Flexi or any of the other plastics I'll talk about later. You guys can see there's a little screen there. You guys see that? Yeah, that little tiny screen is there. It's kind of annoying, I'm not gonna lie, because this machine is very old. To get through the menu, you click this button and you scroll. I bet just about any one of you could come up here and play with the menu and figure out how to move it. You can move each part, you can move it, you can move this. These two are called bed slingers. I would say bed slinger. So it moves this back and forth, that's Y. This is the X-axis gantry, and it moves that. And then this whole thing moves up as well. Combining all those movements, that's how you get your 3D print. All right. Let's move over to this one. This is my Voxlab Aquila. It's actually an off-brand of Creality, but it's basically the same printer. So that is an Ender 2, very old printer, I think from like early 2010s. This one is from like 2015, 2018-ish, and this one is much stronger. It has a better frame, it has a handle. It also has a filament sensor, so if it runs out of plastic, it'll stop the print, it'll know, instead of just keep going. And this machine is much bigger, much more reliable, and it's also still a bed slinger, just like that one. I'm gonna get the print started on this. Compared to these two have the buttons and like this scroll wheel. This one has a nice touch screen, so it's a lot easier to control, and I can control it a lot better. I can go into the folders, and you'll notice I did not plug the USB into this. The cool thing about this is once you print something once, it downloads and then it's on there. So I don't need to use the USB if I don't want to. So I just started the Benchy print. Before that gets started, I'm gonna put some glue down. School glue, all right? This makes it much easier to stick to the build plate. If you don't do it, it'll probably just come off. The plastic I'm using now does not necessarily need glue, but there are some plastics that do. That if you don't put glue down, it'll rip up the glass or it'll destroy the print. So what it just did is, it went to home. Home is 0, all right? Printers use what is called G-code, all right? Just like a computer, how it uses code as a language, printers use G-code, all right? So the printer went to 0 in all 3 axes, and then the G-code will tell the printer how to move. Right now it's telling it to move the Z-axis up. So these are bed slingers, the bed moves forward and back. This one, the bed moves up and down. So Z is the bed on this printer. X and Y would be this. You'll see it moving all around soon. It can move in any direction, left and right and forward and back. And this will move down after each layer, all right? Right now it is auto bed leveling. So like I was talking about earlier, those use bed knobs to level it. That is one of the hardest, one of the biggest things that get in the way of beginners printing out stuff, all right? Leveling the bed is kind of hard at first, but once you get used to it and once the bed is level, it's good. But the annoying thing is, if I move this to a different table, will it be level anymore? No, it won't. So anytime I move this, I have to re-level it, all right? This machine is doing it automatically. It just touched a bunch of points, and then the code tells it when to move up and down, all right? So it saves me a lot of time, and it's way more accurate because the machine is more accurate than me turning these knobs, all right? Now, as this is heating up, it is heating the nozzle up to 200 degrees Celsius, and the bed up to 50 degrees Celsius, so don't touch the nozzle. As this is heating up and getting ready, I'm gonna talk about the next slide. This print should take about 15 minutes. It'll run as we're talking, and it should be done by then. So one of the coolest things about 3D printing is that you don't have to be able to design things. You can actually find millions of files for free online. So while I was getting ready for this, I actually did some research just to double check my knowledge and to learn some new things. And I was trying to research how many free files are online. I couldn't find it. There's so many. Google didn't even know. The best guesstimate I can give is at least 200 million free files online. And we'll go, oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
I can't even really picture that number. That's a very big number. Anybody can go and design something and put it online. I haven't yet, but I do want to upload my design. I love this thing. It works very well. And same with my phone holder. They're basic, but they work. You'll find so many files online. Most of these that you see over here, I found online, like this mask. I actually sell this mask. I have certain files online that you have the legal right to sell as long as I give them credit. So on my website, you'll find credit for the guy who designed this. His name is on there, but I get to sell it and make it myself. The cool thing is I can change how I make this too. You know, I can change what plastics I use. So he may have done the design, but how it turns out is ultimately up to me. We have Thingiverse. That is one of the original ones. These are like basically social media for 3D printing. You have an account, you can like pictures, you can leave comments and save stuff. Actually, my girlfriend has an account and she has a whole folder that says gifts for me. And she sends it to me. And we have printables.com. That's very similar to Thingiverse, but it's made by the same company that made that XL machine with the multiple tool heads. Then we have My Mini Factory, which is pretty interesting. I don't really use it much, but you can use it to find free files for sculptures, museums, very historical things, or things that you can find around the world, even like buildings. The printer is about to start. It's auto-homing now. And then it's going to move to the side and it's going to do a purge line. So what that does is it's just doing out a line of plastic just to make sure it's ready to go, and then it will start to print. We got some 3D modeling programs, so if you have an idea for something and you can't find it online, or if you want to be able to design things yourself, you can, and there are many different programs to do that. The easiest is Tinkercad. Has anyone ever heard of Tinkercad? Raise your hand. Oh, cool, a couple hands, cool, hands down. So this is made by Autodesk, the same people that make the actual, like, really nice design softwares. It's very simplified. It has a bunch of shapes you can put in, and it is probably the most basic form of CAD you can find. And CAD stands for Computer Assisted Design. Okay, so you're designing something with the help of a computer. Okay, and you'll see someone made a penguin out of those basic shapes. Right under that is Fusion 360, my preferred program. It is for designing functional prints. That's what I use to design my Stein mug and that phone holder. And also you can see a picture of this Enable hand. I did not design this. This is basically a prosthetic. It's a program that gives it to people for free. Cool thing about this is that while doing research, 90% of people who need this don't ever get it because they're very expensive. Okay? But this is completely free. So someone who was born or lost fingers or a hand could move it again. All right? It connects to their wrist, and they just move their wrist or their palm, and they're able to pick things up again. And I love this program. I'm starting to get involved with it. I'll be a volunteer with the program very soon. This is my test hand. I'll send this to them, and then I'll officially become a volunteer with them. But you can see that it was designed in Fusion 360 and then taken from there and printed out. To the left of that, you can see a dinosaur. Before we talk about that, you can see that the printer is going. It did a little purge line on the side, now it's starting the boat. It's going pretty quick now because it's doing the inside and the base. You'll notice that when it gets higher up, it's gonna slow down to make the quality look a little better, all right? And that'll print as we're going. I'll show you once it ends. On the left bottom, you see the dinosaur. That is from Meshmixer or Blender. Those are organic designs. So the Fusion 360 is very blueprint. You draw a line, you give measurements. It's very functional parts. This is like building with clay on a computer, all right? It's very smooth, very organic. I'm okay at it, but not great, because it takes a lot of art skill, all right? That is actually the same program that people use to make game, like characters for games or animation. So it's really cool that if you get good at that, you can actually build video games and movies, and even 3D print those things. And then we have slicing programs. So sadly, you cannot just take that file and send it to the machine and print it. The printer needs the G code, the language, all right? You can't just give the printer a file and it'll just magically print it out, all right? So I have to take that file and put it in a slicing program. What it does is, I take that little file, and you guys see the picture of the boat down there? I took it and cut it into thousands of layers. Now the software does this for me. Cuts it into hundreds or thousands of layers, and then it adds all the settings that I want, okay? In the right top, you can see all the lines that it has. It'll print out a couple walls of like the edges of whatever you're making, and then it prints out the infill as well. We have Prusa Slicer, that's great for that big machine that I use. Reality Slicer, I like to use that for this machine, because this machine has a camera. And I have an app that I can actually check on the camera. So when I'm at work, I have a part-time job that I do sometimes. When I'm there or when I'm away from home, I can run this print and I can check on it, and I can even stop it if I want to. It also does time lapses and stuff. These machines, like this machine is reliable, but I would not risk running it when I'm not home in case of a fire or something goes wrong. This machine will stop. Then we have Litchi Slicer, that is for the resin printing, just because it's a little different. Same language, same G code, but it's telling it to go into the vat and then flash that light. Very different settings. Then we have Cura Slicer over on the right. That's my preferred slicer. It's a great overall. It works for almost any machine. And slicing settings overview. Everyone go, boring. I know it sounds really boring. Settings do sound really boring, but it can be really cool because you have control of what you want to do, all right? So one of the biggest things is infill density, all right? So if I'm printing out a test print, like this boat is just a test to make sure the plastic in my printer is good. Does this need to be 100% solid plastic? No, that would be a waste. Why would I print this 100%? It would probably take like 2 or 3, 4 hours to print this solid. And then there would really be no point because it's just a decoration. Or even things like these, this little gizmo, probably 5 or 10% because it's just a decoration. Now, if I'm using this is to hold skateboards on the wall. Do you think this is 100%? Yes, this is solid plastic, all right? And I can control that. Not only that, but I can control the shapes on the inside. So instead of just using solid plastic, you can use very complex shapes to make it very strong. Technically, using like 50% infill, so half of it is empty, but I use a very strong structure, is stronger than solid plastic sometimes. You can see examples of that in the green. You can do like just lines to make it quick and not very strong. You can do triangles to make it really tough in certain directions. You can use gyroid, which is that blue up at the left top. That is my preferred because it's strong in every direction. One of the coolest things about these slicers now is that these companies have made it very easy nowadays. When I first started, I had to do all those settings from scratch. Now they have profiles that are pre-made. You go on, you click, I'm a beginner, and it gives you the basic stuff. And if you're printing out stuff like this snake, easy. You can go beginner, slice, done, and then print. Now, if I'm printing out things like this custom mask, or other things that are more complicated, I have to use very intricate settings, and I have to apply more of what I learned. On the right bottom, you can see a screenshot of all the settings. There are hundreds and hundreds of settings, especially when you get into multi-material, like this mask I'll talk about. It gets a lot more complicated with those kind of settings. And then also you can see supports on the left in that orange. Supports is another very important setting. So before, the 3D printer had to touch the build plate, right? So can it print midair? No, it can't. So if I'm 3D printing something like Godzilla, it'll print great, but then when it gets to these hands, it needs support for that. It cannot just print it in midair. So I can use tree supports like that orange, and it would go around and hold on so that it can print. Now it has a gap there so that it doesn't become part of the print, and I can rip it off easily. And there are different forms of supports. You can see a different one for the resin. It looks like scaffolding. It goes straight up and down. Those supports are a little bit different. But I honestly prefer to keep using the tree supports. They're easier to take off. They make the print look much nicer. Also, eventually there's, I'll talk about this more later, we have dissolvable supports. These supports actually dissolve in water, so it makes it, the quality come out way better. Got a couple different types of plastic. So we have PLA, which is majority of what you see here, all right? PLA is great for prototyping. It's great for cosplay things, anything that's just a decoration, and it can be pretty strong, all right? If you need something that has to be outside or in heat or a lot stronger, you'll have to use plastics like ABS or ASA. They're a lot harder to use and a lot more toxic, so you have to have like ventilation and stuff. PLA though, like I said, you can print out almost anything. And there are various forms of PLA too, like not just solid colors, but shiny colors. This plastic actually changes colors, so it's orange, red, and it's shiny. Now, this isn't as strong as other plastics because they add polymers to make it shiny, but it's pretty. And we also have stuff like this. So you guys can see these coasters are multicolored, so like I talked about earlier. But this holder is actually wood-filled PLA. So it has wood in it, like actual real wood. So it looks like wood, and it's even sometimes smells like it, and you can sand it much better as well. But I like to use it because it makes something like this tree stub coaster holder look like real wood. We also have food-safe plastic. This was a toothpaste holder that I used, that I still kind of sell. It's kind of funny, it went very viral a couple years ago because it poops out toothpaste. But this is food safe. Normal PLA is not food safe, so you can't use it for like food utensils and stuff, but you can find FDA approved plastic that is food safe. But you do have to print it right. If it's not printed right, it's still dangerous. We also got flexible plastic, like this shoe. I've printed rings before, shoes, and you can see it's flexible, you can squish it. And you can print out just about anything in this plastic, but clothes or things that are meant to move are very nice. Sadly, this doesn't fit me anymore, but I do want to print out a new pair that's a bit nicer. This design also isn't the best. It came out kind of rough. And then we also have glow-in-the-dark plastic. I could just project. My mic shut off. All right, we got glow-in-the-dark plastic. So you see that Godzilla up there? Very similar to this silk purple Godzilla, except that printed out in almost a clear blue. And then it charges in the sun or in UV light, and then when you shut the lights out, it'll glow. And to the right of that, you can see that little beaker, and it is full of acid. So that one that you see that's all messed up in there, that's PLA, standard plastic. Obviously PLA melts in acid, it melts with blowtorch. The thing behind it is called PEEK. PEEK is one of the best super polymers, one of the best, strongest filaments that I know of. I can't 3D print with it, my printers are not good enough. In fact, even the people that I follow that have millions of followers on YouTube, like the best 3D printing guys I know, they can't usually print with it. This is only for like government or very, very big businesses that have a lot of money, like NASA. But PEEK is fireproof, it is acid proof, it requires a lot of temperature, and it's very, very tough to print with. And right below that, you can see one of these fidgets. And that's a nice example of mixing matte and shiny PLA, but you can see. These are the names of all the filaments, if you guys are curious. I know I said abbreviations. That is because the names are very long. Let me see here. Can you guys say polyactic acid? Polyactic acid. That's PLA, all right? We got a couple other different names, and those are all the ones I went through. There's a couple other ones that's similar to the wood fill that it has wood in it. You can also find a filament that has carbon fiber or metal in it. It makes it a lot stronger, and also you can make it look rusty. Like if you want to give it like a rusted kind of look, you can actually rust the plastic, which is cool. You'll notice that the printer is getting up into the middle of the boat now, which is crazy. It's already almost done. It's slowing down, so it's getting way more quality in there. So you'll notice that this machine is obviously way better than these, all right? One of the coolest things about 3D printing is that you can upgrade and customize your printer very easily. Newer machines or like some modern ones, I can't really modify this much. I don't really need to because a lot of those upgrades are already in there. But machines like this, you can customize it and add things that just make your life a little easier, such as auto bed leveling. You can see it in the left top corner, and that red printer right there, that glowing thing, it has a little metal thing that sticks out, and it goes down and touches it a few places to auto bed level so that I don't have to manually use these knobs. Also, there are these knobs on the belts. That little printer doesn't have it, and most printers like this don't have it. I believe I actually upgraded this one. I don't think it usually has those. Every once in a while, you have to tighten the belts. If you don't, it won't be able to move anything. So the belts are in the corners of this one. On these, it's underneath the bed. If it's too loose, it won't move. If it's too tight, it won't move. If it's too loose, it also won't move. If it's right in the middle, like perfect tightness, you'll get better quality. So those little knobs make it much easier. Usually you'd have to use like an Allen wrench and do it and then pull the band and then tighten it. It's really tough. But that little knob just makes life so much easier. We also have the Noctua fan up there. So the standard fans that are in these, there's a couple fans. There's a fan that cools the part. There's a fan that cools the machine itself so it doesn't overheat. And then there are fans inside the machine as well to keep everything inside cool. Noctua fans are a lot quieter, more reliable, and I don't have to replace them as much. To the right of that, you can see a plastic extruder and a metal extruder. The extruder is this part that is the gear that pushes the plastic through. These two push plastic. It pushes the plastic through this tube, heats up the nozzle, and it moves, and the plastic comes out. This printer is direct drive, all right? So it pulls it instead of pushing it. I'll talk about that in a sec. But this is plastic, and eventually, plastic on plastic, it's gonna ruin it. But if you get a metal one, plastic doesn't really cut metal very easily. And all the way at the right bottom, you can see an upgraded direct drive. So this machine can do PLA and stuff, but it cannot do flexi materials because it's pushing it. Imagine trying to push a rope. Can you push a rope? No, but you can pull a rope, all right? But you can't push one. So that's a nice upgrade. If I wanted this to do flexi material, I could print out parts and then take this and put it on top. And above that is my buddy camera. That's what I use to check my prints when I'm away. Very similar to the camera here. But there's so many printed upgrades and upgrades you can find online, and you can even print out like all of them in one color to make your printer really cool. We got repairs and maintenance. Maintenance is very important. Keeping your printer clean, doing regular maintenance, kind of like a car, all right? If you don't put gas in a car, it's gonna stop. If you don't eventually put oil in the car, it's gonna get damaged. If you don't put new tires on, it'll get damaged, all right? Similar to 3D printers. It needs a new nozzle, it needs new belts, it needs a new build plate, or it needs, one of the biggest ones is the things that connect to this tube. Eventually this wears out, and then the tube falls out, and it won't print. Those are very basic things that every once in a while you just gotta go and screw it on or do some basic cleaning or maintenance. And that prevents much bigger issues. If you ignore maintenance, you don't clean your machine, you'll ruin your machine. And you'll notice that like down there you see me holding the two extruders. The one on the left is very messed up. The plastic got so dirty and up and into it that it ripped the wires out and I had to buy a new part. So if you keep it clean, it's much better. On the right, you can see that is my Cobra Max. It's one of my biggest machines. It's like this big. And it has two belts for the build plate because it's so big. One of the belts broke, and I actually let it keep printing because I had to, and it was fine, but I did end up replacing the belt. And above that, you can see a new nozzle compared to an old one. You guys can see how gross and dirty they look compared to the bowl. And then we got that brush that cleans off the nozzle as well. Oh, and our print is done. Everyone say yay! It just moved down, went to auto home. You can hear how loud it is. I'm gonna let it cool down a little bit so that this comes off the build plate. And the cool thing about this is, these two, you would have to use a metal scraper. This one has a removable plate, so I can just take it off, and then when this cools off, it'll fall off. All right, so we got some print fails. So if you don't take care of your printer, you will get some crazy print fails. Quick time check here. All right, so on the far left, we got a blob. That is what happens if you do not check your first layer or it comes off and it just keeps printing. And I got this. I was very lucky that it didn't keep going because it could have caused a fire. I was actually printing something very, very simple, which is why I thought it would be fine. I've printed these out probably 100 times, 200 times. I was printing one of these out. So this was supposed to be that. But because it disconnected and it just kept printing midair, it all just went into the nozzle and went up and destroyed my machine. It's broken, it's still broken. But on the plus side, it did get me like 6 million views on Instagram and I got a lot of followers from it. But I did get a broken machine. And you see the spaghetti around that orange skull? That is what most fails look like if it doesn't stick to the nozzle and go up there. If it goes out and has room to move, it'll look like spaghetti. Underneath it is over versus under extrusion. That's when if like your gear isn't pushing enough or if the temperature isn't enough, like if it's not hot enough, it won't push it out. So it won't, your print will have holes because the plastic didn't come out. If it's too hot, it'll melt it and it'll come out black or it won't come out at all. Above that, you can see it looks like someone was printing out a Hulk, just like this. All right, and they failed to have good supports and it failed halfway through. Underneath that is the layer shift, the blue. That's what happens if this was printing and I gave it a good smack, or if it moved, the printer would do a perfect print, but with just a few of the layers shifting to the side. And all the way on the right is actually what I was talking about earlier with this thing that connects the tube. If it falls out, it fell out and then the plastic just kept moving out, but it wasn't going in the nozzle. The printer kept moving. The printer did not know that. So you can see the plastic all over the place there. But honestly, when it comes to print fails, if you keep your maintenance, you check on it, print fails are pretty uncommon. Safety. Safety is very important. We got some air filters for inside of my enclosures. I have enclosures like the bottom ones there, so like it's a big pop-up that goes around this. This is self-enclosed, so all of the fumes are in this. It's PLA, so it's fine, but if I was printing with something a little more toxic, I could just shut the door and I would be okay. And we also have ventilation. I always recommend have like fans in the windows or and such. Top right corner, we got a fire extinguisher. I've never had to use it, I'm very happy to say. But it's very important to have that around just in case, right? Oh, and those enclosures, not only do they keep in the fumes and the heat, but if it catches on fire, it also isolates the fire, it won't spread. And then in the middle, we got cut-proof gloves. Quick story just for you guys. You'll notice on this print that there's a hospital band. Because when I was getting this custom order done, I had to scrape off a raft on the bottom, and it was getting stuck. I could have just printed out new ones, but I decided to try and get it off, and I used a knife. And I was 19, and I was being safe, but it broke, and it sliced my thumb really bad. I actually almost lost all feeling in my thumb. I can't really feel here, but I could have printed out a new one. I could have worn those gloves. I could have been safer. So I don't usually keep hospital bands, but I do keep this one to remind me to wear those gloves. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'll just get this thing off quick. No, wear the glove, all right? And we also got a respirator that's for especially resin printing, keeps your lungs safe. And we got 3D scanning. Does anyone know 999 The Hawk radio station? Oh, cool, a couple of students. Oh, cool, I was just expecting teachers. Nice, hands down. So, I actually went on that radio station a couple of years ago, and I got to 3D scan Rick and Joel's heads. And the cool thing about 3D scanning is you can 3D scan just about any object and print it out or put it on something. So, I put their heads on Superman, so that's Joel, and I put Rick's head on Hulk. And I printed out a bunch of them, and they did a little giveaway, and that's a picture of me and them. And you can see a picture of, on the left, of what they look like in the 3D modeling. I had to touch it up a little bit and put it on the Hulk and Superman. That took a bit of time. And you can actually see my 3D scanners right here. This is what it looks like. I can either hold it and move it around, or I can put something on this and it'll spin while it's scanning. Very, very useful for making, like, example, if I didn't know the dimensions of this, I could 3D scan my drink and then get the measurements so that it fits. These are some examples of my custom orders. Not only do I have the things on my website, but I also do custom orders. People email me, text me all the time about random stuff. I do masks. I've done, you can see a picture of all of these things. I print out like 500 of them. And these hold skateboards on walls. And then we also have a mask for a dog. This is for my pit bull, a little bit bigger than that beagle one, but cute little cosplay mask. Above that, you can see a radio. That's actually a cool functional print I did a bit ago. He had an old radio that didn't have any knobs, so he couldn't work the radio. So I printed out new knobs so he can use his radio again. And then on the bottom corner, in the right top corner, we got some custom chess pieces and custom Monopoly pieces that people asked for. That left top corner mask, I actually painted. I did not have a multicolored printer then, but I kind of want to print out a multicolored version of it now. And we got some other tools. In the left top corner, we got filament bags. Those keep out moisture for the plastic, because over time this absorbs moisture and it'll get ruined and you can't use it. So I gotta put it in a bag and get all the moisture and air out to store it. Under that is a 3D pen. I love using my 3D pen. It's great for adding details to prints. I just load the same exact filament as my printer uses. It heats up the nozzle and it has a little gear that when I press the button it comes out. And that's really nice for making your own art, but also like touching up 3D prints as well. Those make you respect 3D printers. These are kind of hard to use. You have to have a very steady hand, and it makes you appreciate how smooth 3D printing is. We have sandpaper, heat gun, and some paint. Those are all great, like post-work things. You can sand 3D prints to make them smooth, you can paint them, and you can do all that stuff. And in the bottom corner is just some general tools that I use all the time. And we got some medical 3D prints. So in the left top corner, you can see that that is Invisalign. So dentists often use 3D printing, like resin printing, to make Invisalign, like the clear braces and other stuff. On the bottom, you can see a cast. That was actually one of my students that broke his arm, and I asked them if I could get a picture. And then we got the Enable hand, that program I was talking about before. And in the right top corner, this is actually something new that I learned a couple weeks ago. I was very surprised. That's a 3D printed pill, like medication. And I believe it came out in like 2016. They're still trying to work on it. It is FDA approved. It's an anti-epileptic. But the 3D printer makes it so that the dosage is very specific. So if someone needs like this exact amount of this prescription drug, they can get it. It's more accurate than other forms of making pills, apparently. But I think that's pretty cool. Also, so that's a really cool future in 3D printing. Also, 3D bioprinting is probably the biggest thing in the future that I really hope we see one day. Bioprinting is printing out replacement body parts like organs or bones. Right now, they're able to do skin, so like false skin. So people who like are burn victims, instead of like, they usually take skin from other parts of your body. Instead, they 3D print it and put it on, and their body adapts to it. 3D printed homes. There are 3D printers that are big enough to print homes and cars, all right? So it's just like my FDM printer, but massive. And they print out with concrete or dirt. You'll see in the top corner, it uses G-code, just like my printers do, and it prints out concrete in mines and all that, just like mine do. Left top corner, you can see a very, very fancy house that can only be made with 3D printing. So 3D printing can make complex homes that couldn't be made before, and also it can make more affordable homes, like the ones on the bottom. That one is actually made out of sand and dirt. So in places that it's harder to build homes and homelessness is a problem, that could really help out. Also, as you can see in the right top corner, it is so much faster to print out concrete than it is to pour it. I was looking into that. I think it takes like 2 or 3 weeks to make the concrete for a home. If you have a printer, it takes 2 days. Yeah, crazy. 2 days. All right, some 3D printing jobs. As I said before, even if you guys don't, it's okay if you guys don't want to get into anything in 3D printing, but there's a lot of job opportunities that could be really cool in the future. These were not jobs, when I was a little kid. We got Construction, people that run those 3D printers and fix them for houses. We have medical people who mainly do 3D printing. I know a friend who actually works at a dentist, and that's all he does is 3D print that stuff. We got people who do prototyping, like that guy holding the helmets. It costs so much money to build a new product. Instead, 3D print it, make adjustments, and then figure out what you want it to look like, then. In the right top corner, you see a game or a movie designer. Those people make animation or designs for video games. Same software that I use to design this stuff. In the right bottom corner, that is a printer farm. That's kind of my goal, trying to make as big of a farm as I can. And I eventually want to move to Europe and do this. But I want to try and have as many printers as I can, printing out the products I sell. All right. Question time. Now, hold on, let me do a little time check here. Yeah, we'll do a couple questions. We have a big break, don't we? Yeah, okay. Teachers, do we need to get anywhere at a certain, or are we good if we go a little over time with questions? Yeah, okay, cool. All right, we'll answer a couple questions. Teachers, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. Green. Oh, was it Bulbasaur? Yes, it was Bulbasaur. I've also 3D printed Bulbasaur a couple times. Go ahead. How long did it take for me to build my longest print? Do you mean designing or printing it? Printing it? I think my longest print was about 5 days. And it was actually an RC car. It was about this big, and it had to be very dense. All right. Adidas. That's you.
Can we all try out the hand that movie later?
Can you try the hand thing? Sadly, you guys can't touch the stuff up here, but you can take a look at it. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. What's my favorite 3D print? That's a very good question. Oh, you know what? It wasn't a special print, but the memory was nice. I had a girl who was dying of cancer, and I made her a sloth because she loves sloths. Yeah, that was probably my favorite. Hendrix, I know you. He was one of my students. Yeah. Go ahead. How many machines have I had? Overall, probably about 50. Right now, I have about 30 machines. So that's a little complicated. I use about 10 to 15 of my machines, but I sell about 20 of them because I sell 3D printers, so I keep printers in my house to sell. What's my favorite 3D print that I have here? Probably this mask. This is new to my shop. This is the newest item in my shop, and it fits me perfectly. I scanned my face and got the measurements. It printed out in 2 colors, and then I added these straps so it fits on my face without me having to hold it. Yeah, this is definitely my favorite. The navel hand is a very, very close second. Green. I'm sorry. What was my first ever 3D print? It was a little white puppy. It was on that CR10, and it was a test print that was preloaded, little white puppy. Maybe I should bring that. All right, couple more. Teachers, any questions? Ooh.
Are you self-taught, or did you go to school or training to learn?
I am completely self-taught. Yeah, I started in high school. I learned mainly through YouTube, Google. I did a lot of research, a lot of time, not only for 3D printing, but also my business, like LOC and everything like that. Yeah. But also, I went to LVMA, and I do attribute a lot of my business skills to that. Go ahead. What's my least favorite 3D print? Probably test prints. All right, so even though this boat was cool, I never got it all. Even though this boat is cool, it's just a test. I've probably printed like 50 of these, probably way more. So it's a waste of plastic. Really? So anything that's a waste of plastic is my least favorite to do. Couple more. Hamilton. Like most recent custom order, most recent thing that I designed myself. Actually, I want to say it was this Stein mug. I had a couple different versions of it, but this one I modified it, made it a little smoother. It's a lot more comfortable to hold now. Yeah. So this is one of the newest things. I do have an idea that I'm going to be designing very soon. I don't know if you guys play any video games that like you need to keep touching the controller to keep it on. I want to make an attachment that connects to the controller so the game just stays on if I leave the room. But that's something I'm going to be designing probably this week. All right, let's do like one more question. Maybe someone from this side. Over in the back there. Jean jacket.
Can you 3D print giant things?
Can I 3D print giant things? Yes, I can. So that XL, I didn't bring it because it's like this big. So I can 3D print anything in a space about like this wide to about this tall. But also I've made swords in various parts. So I've made swords as tall as me, like swords like this big, and I just connect all the pieces. Alright? Hands down, guys, I'm sorry I can't answer all the questions, alright? But if you have a very quick question, when you guys come up to get your gift and take a look at this stuff, you can ask me really quick. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for this opportunity. I had a great time. I hope you enjoyed yourself. And when you guys come up, please just take the one that we hand to you. Don't touch the stuff up here, but you can look with your eyes, not with your hands. Thank you guys so much.